Welcome, this is Jim, host of the Faith Influencer podcast, where we're going to dive into discussions on faith's role in everyday life, from navigating blended families to overcoming challenges. I'm a husband, a father, a Bible teacher, an advocate for applying faith to everyday life. So tune in as I share personal stories, valuable insights, and practical wisdom. Welcome back to Faith Influencer. This is Jim Cunningham, and I have on my holiday shirt. Notice that? Kind of bright today because it's right around the holiday times. I'm looking forward to it, but some of you aren't. Some of you have experienced the blended family holiday drama, and so we're going to talk about that today. How do you deal with the drama of the holidays? Or maybe it's not drama, but how do you deal with the heartache of the holidays if you have a blended family? So those of you with blended families, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those of you who are watching who do not have a blended family, you're scratching your head. Why is there trauma and drama during the holidays? Well, you're going to learn if you continue to listen to this podcast. So you may be feeling anxious right now because Christmas is a week away. You may be feeling like you have no joy, like you're dreading the holidays. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that because I don't want these kinds of issues to rob you of enjoying what you and your family ought to be experiencing. So hang in there with me today, and we're going to walk through some steps how we can enjoy the holidays, even though you're a blended family. Now I'm going to tell you a personal story. This story is our first Christmas as a blended family. This was 15 years ago. 15 years ago was the first time that my wife did not have her children Christmas morning. Now, my kids were older, so that was never an issue for me, but for her, they were like 5 and 8 or 9. And I don't know why it worked out this way, but for some reason, that first Christmas, her ex-husband had the children Christmas Eve night, and they woke up there that morning. And this is what happened. That night, it snowed so much that you couldn't even get out of the driveway. She was absolutely panicking. I mean, remember now, it was the first time ever that she did not have her kids on Christmas morning. So that was traumatic enough. And some of you listening know exactly what I'm talking about. You've been through that. So she was panicking, and we hadn't been married that long. And she was already saying, I've got to go see my kids. I've got to go see my kids. So I'm like, okay, we'll try to get there. So guess what happens? I pull out of the driveway and I get stuck at the bottom of the driveway. Cannot go anywhere. And now she's really panicking because she doesn't have her kids. Literally, this is what happened. Our first Christmas almost became our last Christmas. This is what she did. She called her ex-husband and said, I have to see the kids. And we're stuck in the driveway. And he and his father got in their vehicle, drove over. Thankfully, we lived in the same town, drove over to my house, picked her up, drove her back over there so that she could see the kids and spend a little time with them. Now, that was hard for me. My head was spinning. All of a sudden, she's driving down the street with her ex-husband and ex-father-in-law, and I'm at home by myself now on our first Christmas. Not for the whole day. She came back in a few hours. But that's how dramatic it is with the whole kid thing at Christmas. Now, some of you listening, comment below and let me know if you understand what she was going through, because I have a feeling that you do. Let's dive into that and uncover some of these things. So that's just a story to help us unlock that this is a struggle during the holidays. But let's talk about how we can maybe soothe what you're feeling right now. Let's first of all deal with the struggle. Now, I realize that some of you, because of your visitation rights that you have, you can't do this. We had visitation rights too, but yet we cooperated together. I'm going to say that if there's any way possible, if it's up to you, don't get too rigid during the holidays. Don't get so rigid on your visitation rights that you miss out on maybe what you could experience. So this is what we did. I know some of you can't do this, but this is what we did. We decided that it's such an important thing, at least for my wife, that she has her kids on Christmas Day. So even though there were visitation rights in place, on Christmas, she and her ex came to the decision that they would split that day, no matter whose time it is to have the kids. You know how some of you are right now? This is my Christmas, and next year will be my ex's Christmas, back and forth. Can you agree that on Christmas Day, you split the day? That way, both of you get to have your children on Christmas Day. Can you just agree not to put everything aside for the kids' sake, not be too rigid on that day, and both of you experience Christmas Day with your children? That's going to be a suggestion for you. Or on Thanksgiving, same thing. I've discovered that some people, Thanksgiving is bigger than Christmas for them. Maybe Thanksgiving, you could not be so rigid and split the day with your ex so that you both can experience that. So that's going to be my first thing. It's going to be in dealing with the struggle, don't be so rigid. Here's my second thing. Some people have two Santas. Now, if you're one of these people who do the whole Santa thing and you don't have your kids on Christmas, whatever day you have your kids, make it Christmas. If you have your kids Christmas Eve, that's Christmas. If you have your kids the following weekend, that's Christmas. You bring in Santa, you do the whole thing just like it's Christmas Day. And I promise you, if your children are younger, they don't know the difference anyways. And so it's just another Christmas for them. Why do I say do that? Because I want you and your family, whatever day you're together, to experience Christmas and all of its joy and fun and excitement and the bright eyes of all of your children. I don't want it to be robbed because it's not on Christmas Day. So if you can't have them on Christmas Day, doesn't matter. Whatever day you have them, that's Christmas. Okay? That's the next thing. And then next I'm going to say, don't get into competition with what you used to do before you had a blended family. Really what I'm saying is now that you have a blended family, create your own new traditions. I've talked about this in the past, and some of you have commented about this in the past, but for those of you who are new, let me mention it again. You do not need to bring your previous relationship traditions into your blended family. On either side, you say, well, that's the way we always did it. I like it that way. Well, that's okay. This is a new family. So you're going to create your new traditions for your family. We have some. I'll give you an example. And then I'm going to give you the big one here in just a minute. So stick with me, because the one that I said I would never do because it was so different now has become my favorite. But that's in a minute. So here's some of our Christmas traditions. We have a Bible story. We always read it from the same passage out of the book of Luke. We read the Christmas story. Our kids know the first thing we're going to do is we're going to gather together in a circle. Everybody's going to sit wherever they're going to sit, and we're going to have the Bible story. By the way, let me back up and say that on our Christmas tradition, we have a thing where no one comes over early. We do just our family, just my wife and I and our kids only. We do that first thing on Christmas. Maybe that evening family will come over or the next day, but we want to have some time with just our family. So one is our Bible story. The other is our meal. This is something we do with all of our family. We have the same Christmas meal every year. On Thanksgiving, we don't do the turkey thing. We do Mexican food. Everybody brings their favorite Mexican food. So guess what? That's become a family tradition now, and every year we look forward to homemade Mexican food. On Christmas, we switch it up. On Christmas, this was when my dad was alive, every year it was about barbecue ribs. I mean, he put them on the grill and did it right. He went to heaven some years ago, so my brother, who by the way is older than me, you should know that, my brother, he took over the job, and now he takes care of the barbecue ribs. That's our Christmas tradition. Last year, my brother couldn't be there, so we just ordered ribs and had them brought in. So that's part of our Christmas tradition. There's another holiday when it comes around New Year's that we have a pizza tradition, and we just eat pizza, and there's no cleanup. And after we eat pizza, we all go to the movies. That's our tradition. They look forward to it. They know what we're going to do on New Year's. We're going to eat pizza. We're all going to go to the movies. Now, some of you, this is not what we do, but some of you like to cook. I've heard some of these stories. I think it's amazing that some of you have let's just say a mother has a daughter, and Christmas morning, Your tradition is to make a big Christmas meal. And that's the time you bring your daughter in and you teach her some of those family secrets, that no one else can know. Maybe it's the rolls or maybe it's the casserole or whatever it is. Maybe you do something special to the green beans. I don't know. Whatever it is, you do something special and you're going to bring your daughter in. And on Christmas, you two get to have that time together in the kitchen. Now, for me, it sounds dreadful. But for some of you, you love the idea of cooking. And I had one friend told me that not only is it their tradition that mom and daughter get together in the kitchen every Christmas and they bake together and they make the Christmas meal, but every year they go before Christmas and they buy matching aprons. And that's their tradition. So the daughter knows, and now the daughter's older, but it's still a tradition, and she and her mother still love the idea that we're going out before Christmas and we're going to buy matching aprons. Some of you say, well, that sounds really old-fashioned. Well, then don't do it. But for those of you who still like that and carry on that tradition, maybe you want to add the matching aprons. You see what I'm trying to do? There is this family tradition and holiday times that can create this cohesiveness. And you can do this with your blended family and your blended children. Include them in. You have a stepdaughter. Well, bring her in. Let her get the apron. All of you do it together. That's what I'm suggesting to you. Now, we have a special event. I'm throwing out some ideas from our personal life. We live in an area in Tulsa where there's Utica Square. And Utica Square is a big outdoor shopping area. And it's beautiful trees, and they cover these trees in thousands of lights. And during the Christmas season, they have one evening that they have live music, and we always bundle up and we go to the live music. And then when it gets dark, they flip the switch, and all of a sudden, thousands and thousands of lights come on, and it's amazing, beautiful. We drink hot chocolate, then we come home. That's a Christmas tradition. That's an event that we do. So these are just ideas I'm going to throw at you, but now here's one that's personal to me. So I said to you a few years ago, my dad passed away, and when my dad went to heaven, it was very difficult because I was very close to my dad. As a matter of fact, I couldn't even talk about this some years ago like I'm going to do right now, but because it was so difficult. But when my dad passed away, we came to the first Christmas after my dad had gone to heaven. So here's my mother, and here's my sibling, and here's all of my children and grandchildren and everybody who loved my father. This is what I was set on. I did not want my father to be forgotten. He'd gone to heaven. For the first time, he wasn't sitting at the head of the table. For the first time, he didn't make the barbecue ribs that I told you about, and he wasn't there. It was an empty place at our Christmas and an empty place in our hearts. But I was not going to allow him ever to be forgotten because he was such a big part. So now this has become a new tradition for us. When we gather for Christmas, those family members who are no longer with us, like my father, and then we have a grandparent, we remember them, and we don't make it sad. We don't make it gloomy, though sometimes there's a tear that might come down our cheek. We make it happy. We remember them. So after that first Christmas, I said, Dad isn't here, but we know where he is. And he added so much life to Christmas, didn't he? And they'll all smile, and we'll throw out some of the little idiosyncrasies that my dad had that were kind of funny. He loved radishes, and we all made fun of him because radishes are like one of the worst foods like in creation. I'm not sure why they're terrible. If you like radishes, I just offended you, I'm sorry. But my dad loved radishes, but he was absolutely the only one who liked them, so he got them all, and it was funny. And so I reminded everybody that first Christmas when he wasn't there about his radishes. Well, guess what? We're all laughing, and it kind of fills our heart with a little bit of warmth, even though this person is no longer there. Make that a tradition. Take a moment where you stop and you remember those who've gone on. I'm all about passing down legacy and our heritage from which we came. And so that's a great tradition that you can add. And then I'm going to say, maybe you have to create a new day. Maybe you have to, because of visitation rights, maybe it's going to be Christmas Eve becomes your Christmas. And every year you get them Christmas Eve, they get them Christmas. If you want to have that consistency, just make it a constant thing. Maybe the weekend before. All right, here's the thing. And the last thing that I want to tell you, and this is the thing that I told you that became very personal to me, that I hated at first, but now that I like, and it is slow down. Now, here was Christmas when I grew up. This is the way we did it growing up. When I was a kid, we'd all go to my granny's house. Everybody, all the kids, all the grandkids, everybody was there. We filled the living room. All the parents would take the gifts and they'd place them in front of each kid. And then all of a sudden it was on your mark, get set, go. And everybody ripped open their presents and everyone was doing it at the same time. And they were taking pictures as they could, but it was all happening. Wrapping paper was flying everywhere. Everybody's laughing, having fun, grabbing stuff, going and showing everybody, look what I got, look what I got. That's the way we did it every year. So now, and then I carried that on into my marriage. But then now I'm in a new blended family. And that's not the way that they did it. They did it a little differently. And so here's what we came down to. We were going to slow down. At first, I was totally against it. We were going to slow down. And when it came time to open gifts, my wife said, would you be okay if each kid opened their gift one at a time? So we could watch each one. I thought, what? We like everybody ripping everything at the same time and just throwing it and everybody laughing, going on there. And she goes, I know, but we can't watch every kid open each gift and see their surprise and take a picture of that particular gift and all of that. And so I acquiesced. I said, okay. Outwardly, inwardly, I thought this is the stupidest thing. This is going to take all day long. But I did it. I went along with it. And so we went to each kid. And guess what? We had the best time because we got to see each facial expression, each surprise. Everybody got to watch everybody. And now that is one of my favorite things. So some of you are going to drop dead when you hear this. This is literally what we do now. When we're opening gifts, we'll pass out gift number one. My wife's all about this. Every package has a number on it. So everybody gets their number one. Everybody goes around and opens number one. Then we hand out number two, and everybody goes around and opens number two. About halfway through, we stop for about an hour. Yep, that's right. We stop for about an hour. All the gifts under the tree, can't open them right now. And then we have cinnamon rolls. We don't put them in the oven until then. They go in the oven. The kids are looking at their gifts. We're talking. We make hot chocolate while the cinnamon rolls are in the oven. You can start smelling them. Then we all eat the gooey cinnamon rolls. And after about an hour, we come back together. Well, you know why I love this now, though I thought I would hate it? Because now the joy of Christmas and watching their expressions doesn't happen in 10 minutes like it used to. Now it's 3 hours long. We're going through this process. We get to enjoy this for a long time. So that is a new tradition that we created as our blended family. I'm giving you ideas, maybe something like that. Okay, here's the last thing. And this is the thing. No, it's not the last thing. I want to leave you something that might hurt your feelings. But anyways, before I do, here's what my mother brought in. My mother always bakes an angel food cake and puts candles on it because Jesus really is the reason for the season, right? And so we sing happy birthday to Jesus. I know it's not the actual day of his birthday, but we're celebrating it that day. So we have a birthday cake for Jesus. Everybody loves it. When the grandkids were little, they thought it was the greatest thing to sing happy. We always do. We sing happy birthday to Jesus. Then someone blows out the candle on the angel food cake. That's one of our traditions. Now, here's the last thing I want you to do. I want you to pray over your Christmas. This is a tough time for you. Pray over the holidays. Ask the Holy Spirit to give you comfort, to give you joy, even though it's a difficult time because of the situation, to give you joy and peace during this time so that you or your kids, that you don't bring that kind of negative energy into Christmas for your children. It's about Jesus anyways. So don't miss the purpose of this because of bitterness, because of anger. And your goal is not to try to outdo this. Wrong to hurt some of your feelings because some of you do this. I know you do. Just be honest. Some of you, it becomes outdoing your ex's new spouse. Oh, I've heard the stories. You got to be the cooler parent. You got to be cooler than your ex-spouse's new mate that your children have been introduced to. You have to be the preferable parent. You have to be the one who makes the best meal or dresses the best or is the funnest. No, you don't. Get rid of all of that kind of stuff. Get rid of all of this pretense. We're going to come together for Christmas, and there's going to be no toxicity. There's going to be no bitterness. There's going to be no hurt. Because when you do that, children are stuck in the middle, right? And so we're going to remove all of that, and our hearts are going to be filled with kindness and joy, and we're going to set our own issues aside. And the issues with your ex, none of that's going to come up. I'm just encouraging you to follow this. And what are we going to do? We're going to share Christmas, whatever day it is, however we have to do it. It's going to be the best Christmas we've had yet, because we are going to choose to make it that way. So there's some ideas. There's some things that we have done. I hope that helps. Thank you for joining us as always. Hey, like us. Go to our YouTube, click on it, say, I want to follow you. Give us some ideas. Give us some feedback. Want all of that from you. Some of you do that already, and it's very helpful, and I read every one of them. Thank you again for joining us at Faith Influencer.